Welcome back to 5-Minute Phys. Dr. Andy Galpin here. Today's topic, fitness and training technologies, the good and the bad, how they can be helpful, but how they can actually cause problems too. So conflict of interest, I have a book out. You can check out more in that if you'd like, but here's the quick version. Number one, this is not an anti-tech talk. It's an anti-failing talk. So whether you look at the research or you talk to any of your friends, we have evidence on both sides that suggests any of these fitness training technologies, so think heart rate monitors, glucose monitor, an app that can tell you how much you sleep, can measure your food for you, any of these things, they all have pros and cons. And so what I want you to understand today is what are the pros so you can take advantage of them, and then what are the cons so that you can avoid them. So let's jump into this and do this very quickly. Well, all of them have some harm, and some of them have some help. So the general benefits. They can answer very specific hypotheses, so they can track things that you're very specifically interested in. Large data sets, so oftentimes day-to-day variations in, say, your sleep. They're influenced too much by something like maybe what you watched on TV last night right before bed. But over time, those small day-to-day variations will shake themselves out, and you can start to see large trends. So technology can be very helpful for that. Your mind has a hard time kind of wrapping itself around the long-term picture like that, and technology can be great. So long-term tracking and large data sets, if you're working with multiple people or you're trying to collect a ton of information on yourself, it's going to be tough to manage that with your own brain. It's also objective, right? It doesn't matter what you think or what you care. The heart rate monitor will tell you what your heart is at. And it doesn't matter if you want to lie and cheat with your training partner or your coach. It's going to tell you if you got your steps in today or if you didn't. It's quick, accurate communication, so you can work directly with the coach, who can give you live feedback, or you can video your workouts and send it to your instructor or your coach, and that can be very, very helpful. But more importantly, I think these four at the bottom are the best. Number one, it allows individualization. So imagine that you're in a scenario where you want to just train for peak power today. Well, I don't necessarily need to give you instructions about how much to lift or how many reps to do or how much rest to take in between your sets. All I'm going to give you is a technology that measures the barbell or the dumbbell or whatever you're moving and measures power, and you're going to do whatever it takes to get the highest number, and you'll figure that out. So that can help you individualize programs across a lot of people or prescriptions. Another example would be if you're trying to, say, target the glutes for some reason. Well, the same exercise won't necessarily always target the glutes. See one of my other videos if you want an explanation of that. But because we have different limb lengths and activation patterns and exercise histories and kinesiological awareness, that is not a word, but you get it, body awareness. Technology will allow me to say, hey, look, realize that this hip hinge activity you've got programmed for me, coach, I don't see my glutes being activated on my app here, so I need to do a different exercise. So that could be helpful for that cause. Accountability, we know that, right? If everyone sees or you're reporting, or at least you yourself have to physically see your numbers, your accountability can go up. Now, it can actually make things worse too, but it can be beneficial. Awareness. Imagine a food app. People have no idea how many calories they're actually eating. They really don't know what 3 ounces looks like or what 60 grams of carbohydrates is. So being simply aware and calibrated, the same kind of idea there of what it actually means to get 8 hours of sleep. Yeah, I feel pretty good. Well, what's pretty good mean, right? Are you really calibrated? So with that, the bad. Using too much of this fitness technology can blunt your own possible feedback. And so you start outsourcing your own intelligence and what it feels like to do something to what the technology told you. And that's a real problem. Another issue with a lot of these training technologies, they often tell you have a problem. So you're not sleeping enough or your heart rate variability is off, but they don't tell you what to do to fix it. Some of them do that, but what I can tell you from behind the scenes, they're not getting that fixed or that solution from a qualified individual all the time. So it's generally not a good idea to follow that prescription. The accuracy, oh boy, even something as basic like a heart rate monitor or a technology that has $100 million into it may not be actually accurate. And we have a lot of science and data to show that those things lack in accuracy. Data overload, right? What ends up happening with any of you that have tried to collect big databases on yourself is you end up not doing anything with it. And now you've wasted money and you've wasted time. The big thing though is technology doesn't understand context and situational awareness. So an example here is what I talk about commonly of adaptation versus optimization. So sometimes you're trying to induce adaptation. So imagine you're using something like a heart rate variability, which generally tells you if you're, fatigued or not fatigued. Well, if you're in a training phase where we're trying to give accumulation of fatigue to induce adaptation, I don't care if your HRV tells you you're in the tanks. You don't need to take a day off, that's the point. But if you're trying to peak for competition, then that same exact score needs to be met with a different response. And it doesn't understand other things of context like what the goal is, what are you trying to do, right? So if you have a technology that shows you how fast you're moving the barbell, more isn't always better. Maybe you're trying to focus on technique today, you don't care about speed. But the app won't know that thing, so you still have to use your own intelligence to think about what the goal, the purpose, or the point of this thing is, and not just listen to whatever the technology tells you to do. All right? It also does what we call shifts a focus from a dime to over $1. So you could use the technology to track, give you yourself constant testosterone measurement to figure out why you feel so tired all the time, or you could go back and go, oh yeah, I haven't been sleeping. Right? So you tend to get fixated on what the tech is instead of looking for those big solutions: hydration, good quality food, sleep, happiness, stress, etc. It can be an arms race. Every single year you got to buy a new one, right? Because either they stop giving updates to this one, or you realize there's another gizmo or gadget coming, and you end up spending millions, not millions, but you spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars every year on another technology, and you end up really making very few positive changes. And because of all that, it actually does what we call foster dependence. So you lose self-reliance and gain dependence on the technology. What we should be using is the technology then to wrap up, to assess what we want, if we can't see things, to inform us and to calibrate us. But don't treat it as an infallible deity. It has problems. You still have to think. Your brain is still a way better general intelligence monitor for your fitness and health than any app that I've seen so far. Because the goal of mastery should be to take self-identification, combine that with self-correction. So if you can use technology to help you identify what's going on, but then you can get to a place where you can identify the problem. I don't need the monitor anymore because I realize now what it feels like when I'm fatigued. And then I also don't need the technology to tell me what to do to correct. Right? So being able to use technology to help you get to self-identification and self-correction generally should be our goal. We want to enhance self-reliance, not dependence. Thanks. Let me know if you want more, and check out all the rest of my videos. If you enjoy this, I would really appreciate a small contribution on my Patreon account. That is www.patreon.com/Andy Galpin. Cheers.